Hi, welcome to this month's WorkRite webinar. I'm Chris Jones, Technical Director at FeelRite, and today we'll be talking about how FeelRite can positively impact your business and the culture of your organisation. I'm joined again today by Ellie Hale, who will be guiding you through the course. Now, if I do suddenly disappear, hello Ellie, how are you?
I'm all right.
Good. Now, if I suddenly disappear during this session, it's because I'm running dangerously close to my work-life balance line, and because I've got a baby due any day now, for tomorrow, in fact. So if I do disappear, Ellie, I'll leave you in Ellie's capable hands.
I am on my own.
Ellie, over to you.
Okay, guys. So today we're going to go through FeelRite, which is our stress awareness course. I'm just going to start off with some facts that I found out. ACAS states that employers have a duty under health and safety law to assess and take measures to control risks from work-related stress. And under common law, employers need to take reasonable care to ensure the health and safety of their employees. So when it comes to stress awareness, you are responsible if you're in one of these roles. On the board of directors or CEOs, health and safety managers, human resources, line managers, trade union representatives and occupational health services. And some employees also have a duty of care to their fellow employees, I suppose. Since I've been doing this role, what's been quite interesting is speaking to health and safety guys. And when you started talking about stress awareness, initially people would go, oh no, that's HR, back away, nothing to do with me. And just even in the past year or so, stress awareness and stress management is really moving from kind of the HR remit really into health and safety, you know, with some companies needing to do assessments, diagnosis, and it's becoming more and more of an issue, which is why we felt that with the Mental Health Awareness Week, well, for FeelRite, we're making it a whole month, this was really the course to talk about. So new figures from the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development show for the very first time that stress is the most common cause of long-term sickness absence for both manual and non-manual workers. So just thought for you guys to think about, how does your company tackle well-being? Do you guys currently have a stress awareness policy? So we're going to open that up.
Excellent. So you should have a poll on your screen right now where we can vote on whether you have a stress awareness policy or not. It is anonymous, so don't worry about us following up with a big sticker or anything like that. So, and we've got a reasonable number of people who have voted now. So what I'll do is I'll close. Oh, there's still a few coming in. But I'll close the poll.
What do we have? Yes, we do. No, we don't. Or it's something that you're working on.
Let's have a look, and I'll share that. So we should see the results on the screen now. So 60% of people do have a stress awareness policy, 24% not yet, and 16% are working on it. So it's a good percentage that are there or working towards, which is great to hear.
That's great stuff. So Chris, what's our policy?
Our policy, well, FeelRite does actually go a long way towards it, and although it's not a sort of plug and hence the course, but when we originally designed the course, we knew that we'd be using it ourselves as a big part of our policy and how we deal with stress. We also run a series of wellbeing sessions during the year throughout the company. In fact, we've got an active working session coming up in about 10 days' time, which I'm quite excited about.
Good stuff.
Walking meetings definitely sound like a great idea to coincide with the warm weather, which hopefully will stick around. But I think, you know, as you said at the beginning, the responsibility or where we think stress sits has moved, you know, although HR get massively involved when there are stress-related issues at work, actually the line managers have so much more to do with it now than they ever have done before, and you know, easing people back into work if they have for whatever reason had to go off on stress and that sort of stuff, you know, it's becoming a bigger thing, but also I think we're becoming more aware of it and dealing with it in a much better and I guess more inclusive way, and
yeah,
so,
absolutely.
That's our policy in a nutshell.
It's not just top management anymore, it's line managers that need to be involved and be made aware of what to look out for, I guess. So stress-related absences are increasing over the past years. Employers lost 9.9 million working days to work-related stress, depression and anxiety in 2014 to 15, according to the HSE. Now, do you guys feel like your company could do more? Is that something that perhaps you could work on?
Okay, let's launch another poll. So do you feel your company could do more? I mean, always, I guess, is the answer, really. It's a, you know, as the industry changes and the landscape changes, and just as people become more aware, or you're never finished, it's continuous improvement, isn't it, that
Yeah.
you'd always want to be looking at. So I think I'd certainly say yes. And actually, we've got most people have voted now, and unsurprisingly, perhaps a bit of a silly question, 99% yes, and there's one person, or 1% at least, that have decided that no, that's everything they can do. So I'm sure
Well,
that
good
you've
on
got,
them.
absolutely, I'm sure you've got everything in place that you
All right then, guys.
need. So,
Well, I'm going to briefly take you through the course, but remember, as always, you can get in touch with us if you want me to set you up on a demo to have a look at the course yourself or show it to some colleagues. Or just give us a call to add it if you've got the WorkRite system already. So we hear so much about stress, but what is it? We often talk about stress and life pressures in the same way, but there's a difference. We all experience daily pressure with regard to time and abilities, and for many people this provides the motivation that enables them to perform at their best. These pressures date back to the caveman era. With no pressure to feed or care for the tribe, they would not have fought or hunted. So I guess it's just we do need an element of stress to be able to exist and to function, but what do you need to recognize? When does it move over into something more worrying? Having pressure is helpful, but when we experience too much pressure in our daily lives and we don't have the opportunity to relax and recover, we can start to experience its negative effects, often called stress. According to the HSE, the definition is the adverse reaction people have to excessive pressure or other types of demand placed upon them. The feelings that we often call stress can occur if there's a mismatch between the demands made on a person and their ability to cope with those demands. This ability can be down to a person's skills or the available time that they can apply to coping. And pressure affects us all in different ways. I think that's something that you all need to be aware of, you know, the individual and how they will react, and at different times. It's often the result of a combination of factors in our personal and professional lives. The good news is that most of the time the feelings arising from this pressure are perfectly normal. For example, we've all experienced exam nerves or feelings associated with looming deadlines. We can identify why we feel this way and learn how to deal with the situation, which in turn will allow us to regain control. When people have excessive demands placed upon them, it can be difficult to separate work and home issues. So if you're happy and coping at work, then you'll have the capacity to cope better with the issues at home. And the same applies the other way around. A good balance is one of the key aspects in managing pressure. So what do we need to look out for? And this is what the course is all about, to help you understand work-related stress. It aims to help you and your company to effectively manage your work pressures in order to improve your health and happiness along with your home life. Healthy, happy workers make for a healthy and happy company. And I think that is really important. We're all different and we all react to things in different ways. And we all have different mannerisms and attitudes, but one thing's sure, if someone's not coping, they will not behave in their normal way. If we're under pressure, it can be felt in a number of ways. For example, we may feel anxious and experience a raised heart rate. We may not sleep well before an important meeting or a flight. All of these are routine reactions to pressure, but if the pressures are constant, then stress and eventually illness can occur. When we aren't coping with these pressures, we can start to feel the effects of stress. Some of the symptoms that people commonly experience are, this is what you guys need to look out for in yourselves and your staff. Problems sleeping, a change in eating habits, increased alcohol or cigarette consumption, feeling very tired or suffering headaches, and becoming more irritable. Unfortunately, people who are not coping may be more likely to have accidents or to make errors. They may become easily distracted and ultimately perform poorly within the work environment. It's important, therefore, to identify problems at an early stage so they can be resolved as quickly as possible. If you're ever feeling you're not coping, it's vital you seek assistance from a member of HR or your manager. And with all of our WorkRite courses, we can customize them. So if you wanted your specific stress awareness policy to be put into the course, if you wanted a particular member of HR or line manager to be mentioned within the course, that's something that we would absolutely be able to do for you. So let's have a look at the causes of stress. Stress occurs when the demands on you exceed your capability to cope with those demands. The key to prevention and resolution is matching demands with capabilities. If you're feeling that you're not coping either at home or at work, it's useful to identify what it is that's making you feel that way so you can plan to improve things which are within your control, or make others who are able to assist aware of where things need to be improved before or as soon as problems occur. Stress is often difficult to pinpoint to one specific cause, and it's often the result of issues. So personal reasons such as the death of a loved one, relationship breakdown, or personal illness or injury, caring for the young or elderly relatives, work reasons such as lack of control of work activities, a culture of blame, too many demands on time, work environment, lack of support from colleagues or managers, long working hours, inflexible working patterns and job changes, and not being able to balance the home and work demands. Personal reasons are often short-term issues such as sickness, financial problems, moving house. They can be longer term, for example, a relationship breakdown, long-term sickness or a death in the family. If personal issues are affecting your work, the best action is to confide in your manager or the relevant HR personnel. Most companies are happy to help employees cope if they know what is going on. Your company may have an employee assistance program designed to help people through difficult times. There's no way to simply predict what will cause harmful pressures as we're all different. However, the following work issues have been identified as potential stresses, the demands on you. So potential stresses include workload, work patterns, the work environment, having too much or too little to do, insufficient or inappropriate training, and boring or repetitive work. And the working hours, if you feel that there's an expectation to work excessively long hours or to regularly take work home, or that your working schedule is inflexible, these can act as stresses as well. It can also be culture, a lack of communication and consultation, and you might feel unclear about your objectives, or that there's a culture of blame when things go wrong, or not having a say in the way in which you do your work, not being encouraged to use your skills and initiative when working, or not being supported by colleagues or your superiors, or feeling that you're being bullied or exposed to unacceptable behaviours. The causes that have already been outlined are not the only ones. Everyone's difficult. We all handle things in different ways, and there are potential causes, such as working alone or isolated with insufficient support. So, I mean, I'm a home worker. I'm quite often out on the road, and on my home days, sometimes it can be quite isolated. I'm lucky that my company, the company culture is that we are in touch lots. There are conference calls to make sure that I'm in touch. My manager's in touch with me via email. So even though I am working at home, I still very much feel that I'm part of a team. So, have a think about what you're doing for your staff in that respect. No matter how much you enjoy your job, any change can be unsettling, especially if you don't feel that you know what's going on. So this could relate to one individual role or in fact to the whole company. Ideally, we would like to think that at work we don't think about home issues and that we don't take our work problems home, but it is not that simple. We all have times when we've either home or work problems which may upset us, but generally we're all able to cope. If we are coping with an issue at home and work stresses are added too, then the problems can seem much worse and we might feel less able to cope. There can also be conflicting demands between work and home concerning time. I think everyone at one stage or another has felt pulled in different directions. So what are the effects? It can affect people in many different ways. Some can be short-term and some long-term. Stress isn't a condition. You can't suffer from stress, but your body can react to stressful situations and demands in certain ways. Short-term physical effects could be fatigue, dry mouth, heart palpitations, sweaty palms, tearfulness, headaches. The longer-term health issues could be high blood pressure, disease, neck and back problems, sleeping and eating disorders, and skin problems. Some more acknowledged effects of stress are emotional and behavioural changes, so rapid mood changes, irritability, aggression, depression, no sense of humour, low self-esteem and low confidence, or disturbed concentration, poor memory, reduced performance, apathy, difficulty in making decisions and poor time management, or unusually impulsive or emotional, poor social relationships, frequent absence from work, increased smoking, drinking or drug abuse. So all of these negative effects of stress, you can see how they can impact your business or your work environment and your home environment. As has been stated, we're all different and we cope with situations and circumstances in different ways. We'll react physically and emotionally in different ways. If you've experienced any of the listed effects, it doesn't necessarily mean this is a result of stress. You should, however, take time to look at your situation to see if there are things that can be improved and consider whether you need to discuss any issues with your manager to improve the situation. And to recap, stress is not an illness, but it's in all of our interests to identify situations that put us or our colleagues under pressure, both at work and home, so we can ensure that we manage them and remain happy and productive. So, what's your company doing? I mean, and it sounds like you guys listening that you've got a stress awareness policy. All companies are interested in preventing and controlling stress in the workplace, as employees who are or feel stressed aren't as effective as those who are happy and feel in control. Putting employees in a situation where they're not able to cope is a risk as much as a hole in the floor is, and companies have a legal obligation to look at what's going on with their company and manage problems, as I mentioned. So you should identify potential sources of stress within the company, assess the risk to staff, and reduce the risk as far as is reasonably possible. So what can companies do? What do they need to ensure? Effective communication at all levels within the company, that bullying and harassment are not tolerated, that suitable training for the required tasks is provided, that open discussion occurs when workloads change to highlight any concerns, and staff are made aware of support services and how to access them. If a company is concerned that a person is not coping, they should ensure that all relevant parties work together to understand the situation, including the causes and possible solutions, provide support to the individual, develop a plan to tackle the stresses and pressures, and assess whether anyone else is experiencing problems. So if one person's experiencing it, perhaps other people within the team are feeling it, and identify if a broader organisational intervention is required. And this is what I think is really clever about FeelRite as a course. I mean, it does talk about employer responsibility, but really does put responsibility on the employee as well to manage their own stress awareness. So you're obligated to do the following: discuss any perceived problems with your manager as early as possible, attend training courses as required, consider opportunities for counselling or advisory services if they're provided, and try to identify what the concerns may be. And going on to the point I made about individuals managing stress. So if you feel you're not coping, it's important to take action at a personal level and to review your lifestyle to see if you can identify any contributing factors. Do you identify with any of these? The burger, absolutely I do. Do you eat on the run or in a disorganised manner? Do you smoke or drink excessively? Do you rush, hurry? Do you attempt to always be available to everyone? Do you do several jobs at once? Do you suffer from the effects discussed earlier in the course? Do you miss breaks? Or do you take work home with you? Do you feel that you've got no time for exercise and relaxation? So here are some ideas for you to get control back. Firstly, you must identify the imbalances that are causing you to feel this way. Sometimes we simply expect too much of ourselves, so be realistic. Be honest with yourself. And that's often the best place to start to identify these issues. Maybe discussing things with a friend is a good starting point. And this is what's useful about the course, the time management tips. So set achievable to-do lists with priorities. If you can't get the task done that day, set realistic time for completion and advise those who need to know of this time. Break up large pieces of work into smaller, more manageable tasks. Delegate where appropriate. Handle each document only once. Don't half-do things. Remember to plan for the time to do tasks and for thinking time. When embarking on a new project, take time to think it through, plan what needs to be done by who and when, and is it even possible? Because if it's not possible within the resource or time limitations, discuss it at the start and find a solution. Don't wait until the problems occur. Think and act positively. Now this seems easy to say, but once you've got a plan, things are always better as you gain control. Take time to think things through and use positive thoughts. I can do this if, rather than, oh, this is too hard, I can't do this. If you've got a problem, don't dwell on the failure. Look at ways to ensure that failure doesn't happen again. We all make mistakes. It's whether we learn from them that's important. If you can learn from mistakes, you can move forward, and you probably won't have the same problem again. And I like these home life tips. Cook in larger quantities and freeze the leftovers to save yourself preparation time at a later date, chopping up onions and freezing them into little bags. That will save you lots of time. You can have that one for free, guys. Look at what must be done at home and consider giving some tasks to other people. Make sure that you schedule in time with your family and friends. It's so important. It can't just be work, work, work. Divide work from home. Switch your work phone or your PDA off when you finish work and change into your out-of-work clothes. If you've got difficulty switching between roles, then try reading a book or listening to music on your commute if possible. Keep contact numbers for home and work with you. If you've got children, have a backup plan for sickness, one for when you're unable to pick them up from school or childcare. Just simple things to lessen your worries. The key to being effective and not creating confusion is communication. So don't judge others or call them names. Try to receive all feedback as a way to improve things, and try not to be defensive and make eye contact where possible. Always listen and try to understand what someone's saying. If you don't understand, just ask questions. Summarize what you understood them to have said once they've finished so as not to interrupt, and try to pick up not only what they're saying but their feelings as well. Try to build relationships with people at home and work, because this will provide you with more support. Be honest at all times in your relationships, and remember that others may have different things to balance in their lives and may need to feel in control in different ways. Relaxation. We all need time to relax and do the things that we enjoy, so make sure you plan time for you to do the things you enjoy, like reading a book or going for a walk, music or socializing, and laugh. It's really good for you and makes you feel great. If you know you're tense, take a deep breath. Close your eyes or walk away from where you're working for a few minutes. Do some thinking to get back in control. And exercise. It's good for you, and it also helps with stress control. Find a sport or exercise that you enjoy and try to do it 3 to 4 times a week for about 20 minutes or more. Brisk walking is something that most of us can do easily. And stretching at your desk or going for a walk at lunchtime can make a big difference. And in summary, just going over what we've learned with the different pressures, the causes of stress, the effects of stress. What is your company doing? And remember, this can be customized. If there's something specific you wanted to be mentioned within the course, and what can you do? You know, it's very careful not to be a diagnosis tool. At no point is this course going to make your staff start shouting, I'm stressed, but what it is going to do is help them and make them feel really supported by their company. They then go on to take a test to prove that they've understood that training, which I think is great. And again, it's your audit trail that if you don't have a stress awareness policy, you've got one in place here and proof that you've provided that training. I'd spoken to one of our clients, Panasonic, who have this course, FeelRite. I spoke to David English, the UK Health and Safety Advisor, who was really helpful. I just want to read out something from him. So David had recognised a shift in the number of sick days that were taken due to stress and decided that there was a change in policy needed in the way that stress was managed for Panasonic. So he educated managers and began an employee assistance program, like we mentioned in the FeelRite course. So David wants to be able to educate all the staff at Panasonic with some key indicators in stress so they could recognise it in themselves and in team members. So as part of the overarching approach to stress and anxiety, he purchased FeelRite licenses for each of his staff. And feedback's been really positive. The staff have found the course simple to use, intuitive, and allows them to dip in and out of it. David has found that it's helped managers in noticing behaviour or performance changes in their staff. Panasonic want to look after their staff and retain good people. By using FeelRite, David has been able to raise awareness and educated his staff, which has boosted employee morale and well-being because their staff know their company cares. And for me as a PostRite employee, when I was asked to do this course as an employee, it really does have that feeling of making sure that your company cares and making you feel that your company cares. So in conclusion, good practice, I mean as a general rule, good practice is going to benefit anyone. When it comes to stress awareness and your policy with that, you are going to lower risk of potential litigation. You're going to improve customer care and your relationships with clients and suppliers, and potentially reduce costs of sick pay or sickness cover, overtime and recruitment by trying to nip issues in the bud before they become major issues. And for your staff, they're going to feel more motivated and committed to their work. As David said at Panasonic, morale is higher, and when morale is higher, people tend to work harder and perform better. And for management, reduce staff turnover, and so you're going to improve your retention. There's going to be better absence management and fewer days lost to sickness and absenteeism or presenteeism when people are at their desks but they're feeling really sad. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I really like this course. I think it's one of our best actually. And if you want any further information, as always, you can get in touch with us.
Brilliant, Ellie. Thank you very much. And hopefully it's sunny everywhere, which in itself reduces stress with all the so hopefully everyone can get out this weekend and enjoy the sun, and we will see you in a month's time. Wear sunscreen, but not early on because you want to get a bit of vitamin D as well. Excellent. Enjoy everybody. Thank you.
Happy weekend, guys.